Jack Kerouac's significance as a author and human being is that he is from what is known, he created and is from the Beat generation, uh, also known as beatniks. I'm Seth.
And I'm Drew.
And this is
Nerd Beating the Nerd.
Hey everyone, this is the fifth and final episode of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Wow, what a journey it's been. This is on the top 100 best video games of all time, according to IGN. We always botch the name, but you can find that list in the description. We're playing all 100 of them. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. This is a 2-year journey to play what is arguably a list of the greatest games that have ever been created. And we're taking it back, kicking it old school on the PS1 here with this game. We've been like trying to, I don't know, like build up our skate cred, build up a career, make some money. Now we're gonna do some single sessions and just relax on this fifth and final episode. And what you got for me, Drew?
So in the idea of relaxing. And we also a long time ago kind of talked about like New Year's resolutions, and like this is one that like always happens that I never really fulfill, and it's like reading more, Yeah. And so I think I would say that Stephen King is your favorite author. Am I correct in that statement?
Yeah, I would say like in terms of body of work, yes.
Okay, so every time book things come up, Seth always has like a Stephen King reference to like pull out of a bag and throw at me, and that's fine. I mean, I'm not gonna hate on the guy. You know what I mean? Like he's done a lot. His body of work has like the most like film adaptations, like film and TV adaptations of any other author, which is crazy. They're not all good. Not all of them are created equal. And so I asked Seth, I was like, look, man, if there's one book that best represents Stephen King that you think I would like, hit me with it, because I want to read my first Stephen King novel and just see what all the hype is about. And I think you said It at first. You're like either It or The Shining. And It
is truly the answer in my opinion, but that's a big undertaking to ask from someone who's not like
a strong reader.
Well, and just isn't dying to. You're experimenting with Stephen King, not like a fanboy.
Right. And that's kind of the thing. You know what I mean? Like I wanted a good entry. And I mean, a lot of people, I looked on Reddit and people all have their own, their own thing, and it's totally fine. But I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to get The Shining, and I'm going to read it. I'm going to experience it. And dude, it's good, man. Like it's a good book. I enjoyed it. There were little things in there that I caught as I was reading through it. I was like asking, Seth and other people that I knew that had read the book. And, I was like, dude, so why is Danny's imaginary friend, like, why is he called Tony? And I think everyone was just like, I don't know. I don't know. Why do you ask that? And I'm like, well, when they went to the doctor, he had said something like, the doctor was like, oh, do you know why he names him Tony? And the parents were like, yes. And that was it. And I'm like, well, I want to know why. And what's crazy is, spoiler alert, I guess, the further you get into the book, and maybe I'm just an idiot because this was when I noticed it, but Anthony is his middle name. So like, I was like, oh man, like this is like him, like future him traveling back in time, telling him about stuff, like that's what I thought. And I also shared that sentiment with Seth. And what was your response?
I can't remember. What did I say?
Well, I think you were like, dude, it's not that deep. You know what I mean? Like you were just like, I don't think that's it, bro. And because I like that stuff. I like looking into things and spending way too much time on something.
I definitely didn't think that
so
heavily.
ancillary.
There's so much going on in that book. And it is so much better than the movie. It's like, I like the ending better. Like I don't know if we should spoil it or not, but it's different. It's completely different. And that's what is cool about it.
Well, and I know that the movie with Jack Nicholson, Stephen King has denounced, he doesn't like it, yada, 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 so on and so forth. And if you've seen the movie and you're like, this is the best movie I've ever seen in my life, you may not want to read the book. I don't know. Like, I like The Shining. I like the movie with Jack Nicholson. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but it's worth a watch every now and again. You know what I mean? If that movie came on TV, I would watch it, Uh, because I kind of enjoy it. There's weird things though, that weird choices that they make in the movie that now reading the book, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't really fit. I like both of them separately though. You know what I mean? They're separate representations of a piece of art, and it's fine. But I would say from a story perspective, dude, the book is way better, and it gives you, like, this is kind of an earlier revelation. Like in the movie, Jack Torrance has a problem with alcohol, and you're like, oh, okay, sure, whatever, no big deal. The alcohol problem is so bad in the book, bro, like hits a kid with his car. I mean, and I don't know. Okay, I don't know if I forget who's driving. If it's Jack or his buddy Al, I think I forget his name. I don't know who's driving the car. I think it's his buddy, and his buddy's got money. And his buddy's the guy that like gets him the job at the hotel, which is also kind of a cool thing. And at one point, like, Jack Torrance wants to write like this scathing book about all the stuff that he finds out about the hotel, and he calls his friend. I think his friend's name's Al. I don't know why that's still sticking out of my head so much. And like in that statement, he immediately like ruins his friendship with that guy, and it's like, dude, what?
Yeah, because he doesn't want him to write it.
Yeah, well, because he's like sort of
investor.
Part owner. Yeah, like it's a very complicated like deal, like complicated situation, because he's like, there's like a group of investors, and it's weird, but I mean, you get it if you read it, kind of a thing. But no, dude, man, I can't remember. So Dick Hallorann, he is my favorite character in the book, and he's not in it for the most part. You know what I mean? Like he's in it, and then he like kind of comes and goes, and I love that dude. I love him so much, bro. And that towards the end, there were two moments where I was about to rage quit reading, and I was about to like mark Stephen King's name in my death note. You know what I mean? Like in my burn book, I was about ready. I was like, if this dude even makes this happen and removes Dick Hallorann in this way, I'm out. That was mildly racist.
Yeah, it was. It totally was.
Because it was a white
wow.
dude. But anyway, but I was pleasantly surprised, and I enjoyed the ending of the book, and the ending of the hotel bit. It makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
And I think there is a TV miniseries that they did sort of after the fact that I think plays a lot closer to the book itself. And if you have seen the Ready Player One movie, one of the challenges is based off of The Shining, and it's based off of the book because it has the lady in the tub. Like you have to go into that room like survive from it or something, and it's spooky, dude. Like but I will say, I don't know if it's just the hardening of my heart or what, desensitized because so many more things are scary in this real world, but I was not scared. I was not like, I didn't have that like heart pounding fear response. And a lot of people say that The Shining is the scariest book that Stephen King has written, and I did not get that vibe. Maybe because I knew what was kind of coming,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It definitely gave me some heart pounding moments, and I had to stop reading it for like about 3 months because it like weirded me out so bad.
I mean, I'm not going to air this thing out, but maybe you'll sort of catch my vagueness. But maybe there was a sort of connection at the time when you were reading it that you may have drawn as a parallel in your own life, which I could see as something to pause on. But I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, that's why I won't read. I have a copy of it. I haven't read it yet, but I haven't read Pet Cemetery. I'm not at a place in my life where that is gonna fare well. There's a lot of like, it explores a lot of like personal loss and things. I mean, I've seen the movie. But yeah, I just don't think it would be a good time to read it. I'm gonna have to wait until I'm like older. And it'll probably still mess me up, but still.
Sure.
It's
go ahead.
Oh, apparently it's a great book, but it comes with a caution, like from the internet. Like, don't read it if that's gonna
if you're
upset
still
you.
fresh. Yeah. And that actually is sort of my next question, and I would love it if the folks out in the internet would give me recommendations. We've asked for recommendations before, and we have not gotten them. But what is the next Stephen King book I should read? Or I am trying to become a better writer, and I am looking for other authors to consume as a way to just see what's out there. You know what I mean? I'm a new reader, and what really pisses me off is I've asked this question, or I've searched this question, and when you go to like Reddit, the only thing people say is like, just read what you like. It's like, okay, great. I'm just going to continue reading everything that John Scalzi puts out anyway. So that's fine. I want to learn new things. I want to read new stuff. I want to see what the best representation of an author is. I want to read other things.
Well, I'll give you a suggestion. Since this is turning into a book episode, which is hilarious, I'm sure the gamers of the internet really want to sit and listen to us talk about books. But I don't care because it's real.
It is real, and reading is good. Reading is awesome.
It's good for you.
Everyone should read.
I don't know. I could be totally wrong. I mean, I'm speculating. I'm like, for all I know, all the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 fans out there are avid readers.
They should be.
So I'm reading. I mean, literally, I'm about to finish it. I might have 50 pages left. I'm reading On the Road by Jack Kerouac.
Okay.
And it's
give me a synopsis.
Yeah, for sure. So Jack Kerouac's significance as an author and human being is that he is from what is known, he created and is from the Beat generation, also known as beatniks.
Okay, I was like,
so
like what Dwight grows, like what what are we talking about?
Kind of like that World War II generation.
Okay,
he was born in like the late 20s. He was briefly in World War II, so like that.
Okay,
that era of,
gotcha.
In terms of like age, so the beatniks they were the precursor to the hippies.
Yeah, okay.
And so a lot of these guys, they get back from World War II, and they're like, I don't want to live a middle class life. Like I just want to like drift and experience life. And basically the whole book is about, he gets back, he goes to college, and then after college he travels with like a group of buddies who are also end up becoming like prolific writers and poets and stuff from this like Beat generation. And he's on the road for 7 years, and he writes this book, and it's written in a style where it's basically just like a flow state. Like there's a lot of run-on sentences, and it's from the perspective of sort of like his mind. Like and it's like, it's really good though, dude. So he's hitchhiking across the country multiple times, and this is back in the 40s. So they would like hitchhike, and then they would get to wherever they'd be in like Denver and San Francisco and New York, and make enough money to barely live and then get to the next place. Sorry. And it's very interesting, dude. And
so I long for something like that.
Yes.
Like that is definitely a bygone era, dude. I think in this day and age it would be very hard to be sort of that nomad.
Well, I looked
with
it up.
everything.
There's like certain states have like outlawed hitchhiking and stuff. So like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, man, it's crazy. And then you start reading about it. So like then that's the 40s, and
Okay.
then like years later, and it really is like 15, 20 years later, the hippies come around.
Sure.
So they literally like laid the groundwork for this, like, I'm gonna deny social norms, and like I'm just gonna live free, and I'm just gonna like
die hard.
It's pretty crazy to kind of like put the timelines together. But the reason why it's like hitting home for me is like, yeah, it reminds me of simpler times when like money didn't matter and you were just like trying to like live and hang out with your bros and stuff. And all I keep thinking is like, dude, I'm really glad that I read this book in my mid 30s, because if I had read that book when I was younger, I would have been like, yeah, man.
Yeah.
I got to take.
You could have like ended up in a gutter because
dude,
this was your life choice.
Oh, I would have for sure like hitchhiked my way to California, or more realistically back then, in my like 20, like 19 and up to like, I'd say like to 23, 24, I would have rode my motorcycle more around the country and stuff. So I'm glad I didn't do that, because I would have ended up being like a drifter. But it's a really good book, and it's definitely like vibey.
How thick is it? Like,
I think it's about 300 pages.
Oh, dude,
Give or
I
take.
can do that.
And it's really like a quick read, because again, it's like that flow state. What's interesting about the one I'm reading, you have to read the original scroll version, because when he goes on the road for 7 years, he writes this book called On the Road. And it's pretty much nonfiction. Like it's basically like a diary account of everything that happened there. But there's these people who are his friends and his like comrades and stuff. I guess like when they published it, he changed all their names.
Okay.
And so when it originally came out, it had these different names. But then years later, and I don't know if it was after he had already died, they put out the original, which is basically like his draft version that had everybody's actual names. So these are real people, like Allen Ginsberg. You may have heard that name before. He's like a famous writer and poet. He is like really good friends with Allen Ginsberg. Like he's in the book.
Interesting.
But his like best friend, who's like this crazy guy who just does all this crazy. He's just unhinged, dude. His name is Neil Cassidy.
Okay.
And he ended up being like a writer and stuff too. But yeah, dude, Neil's crazy. And like, but I'm glad I read it like that, is what I'm trying to say, because you can look these people up, dude. They all have Wikipedia pages. They all had careers.
So what you're saying is read the version with the actual names.
Yeah, it's called it's called On the Road, the original scroll.
Okay.
And I think it's a little bit longer, but it's got the original names.
Okay.
And
yeah, I'm down for that.
That book inspired a lot of musicians and writers, and it's just, I don't know, man. I'm really inspired by it. It's crazy. It's a really, really good read.
Well, since you're giving me a recommendation, I will give you a recommendation. But first, do you know what a kaiju is?
Yeah, like a Godzilla?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. You passed the test to read this book called The Kaiju Preservation Society.
Okay.
So it's by John Scalzi, who does the Old Man's War series of books, which is phenomenal. That is what, like, that and the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series got me into reading, to be perfectly honest. And so he's a great writer. He's done a lot of really like good and hard-hitting stuff. This he refers to as a pop song. Like, this book is a pop song for him. Like, it's fun, it's lighthearted, it's like a relatively quick read. I think it's, in like the 300 to 400 page realm. Like, it's not too bad. But essentially the premise of it is the main character, whose name is Jamie, ends up losing his job. Now, I will say, if you have like kind of panicky notions about like lockdown and COVID and stuff, he wrote this during this time, and so at the beginning, like,
so it's a newer book.
Dude, it came out like, I don't know, 2023 maybe. So it's very new. So
That's cool.
he essentially writes, like, Jamie loses his job at this company called Food Mood, which is like Uber Eats, kind of thing. He loses his job because his boss is a jerk, and then he ends up deliberating for Food Mood, being a delivery driver for Food Mood, and a lot of different things kind of happen, but it's during lockdown, so like there's little elements of that kind of thing that are going on. So if that is something that kind of turns you off, it's not a huge part, but it does sort of pepper in, and it does kind of ground you in the time and space that sort of existed. So I kind of liked it because I was like, oh, this just happened.
Yeah, we
you know what I
lived
mean?
through that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But so it's so cool, man. Like, essentially what happens is Jamie runs into an old friend and ends up getting a job working for an NGO, which is a non-government organization, so charitable organization, where they protect kaiju, like giant monsters. And I won't like spoil how that is possible, but dude, it's just fun. It's just fun and enjoyable, and I don't know. I love kaiju, and so I thought that this was just one of those books that like if I was gonna give people books, like if I was like handing them out, like if I was that kind of guy, this would probably be the one that I would hand out.
That's cool.
Because like I said, I enjoyed it. It's fun, and it gives me like positive vibes, positive feels. And I have kind of realized, I don't know if this is a thing with getting older, but like I feel emotions.
Yeah.
But more, but only in certain settings. This may be like an ADHD thing, but like if something happens in real life, I will have less of a reaction to it. But like in a movie setting or in a book setting or in a TV show setting, like I will become so much more emotionally invested in it because I truly put myself in that space.
Yeah,
and I
that's
think
cool, man. That sounds like a book I would have like randomly picked up at like a Barnes and Noble or something, like just because it probably has a cool cover or something.
Well, and it's the cover is pretty basic. It kind of looks like a security badge, and then it just says the Kaiju Preservation Society on it in big letters. And I think it was a previous book of the month or something. Like, okay. When I picked it up, they were like, "Oh, this is a good one," and I was like, "Oh, cool, great." And I actually, I just the other day, I went to Barnes and Noble. Felt like such an outsider, but I walked around. I bought some manga because I'm excited to explore that world.
Nice.
And it was like Sherlock Holmes based. One of them was based off of the Wimbledick Pimplepatch Sherlock Holmes. A Study in Pink, I think, is the one. So I was like, oh, I know this story, so I'll be able to see like the comparisons. And then I also got one which is about Moriarty, and it's like his life before he meets Sherlock Holmes. And I'm like, dude, that's interesting. Like, I like a good villain, and so we'll see if that villain story comes to fruition. And speaking of villains, there is I think it's called Starter Villain. It's one of the most recent John Scalzi books. It's got a cat on the cover, and I was sold from cat on the cover, honestly. And I think I'm only on like chapter 6 or 7, and it's good. Honestly, it kind of threw me for a loop. I had no idea what to expect. I did not back cover it at all. I just bought it blindly, and I'm excited. Also, I'm writing was it Bird to Bird or Bird and Bird, which is a book that is supposed to be kind of a must-read for any writer out there. Kind of gives you like real-world experiences and different things and tips on like writing and stuff like that. So that's going to be a harder read for me because it's more of like a reference book.
You should definitely read Stephen King's reference novel called On Writing.
I saw that. So they were literally like right next to each other. Yeah. And the only reason I picked this one is because I would like to read more Stephen King before I pick that up. Also, it was $10 more.
Yeah, it'll help you understand kind of where he's coming from. How are we on time?
we're getting close, dude. So I think this is the perfect opportunity to give our thoughts on this game, if that even is relevant.
Yeah.
Let's be quick with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't think it needs a lot. This is a fun game that is just a great time killer. It kind of makes me want to like get on eBay and buy a Tony Hawk Pro Skater like vintage T-shirt.
Okay, yeah, I dig that.
But yeah, I mean, I think I could just. It came very easily to me. And we didn't explore like a lot of the special moves and stuff like that. You could easily get like nerd out over that and
sure,
like beat the whole career mode.
Get
and
lost
stuff.
in this stuff, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it's great. I think it is like it, dude. This is obviously culturally significant. This game is,
of course,
is a banger. It was a banger back then. It still holds up. So
and it's important for us in our childhood development, to be real.
Yeah, I'm happy to have played it again, dude, because I probably never would have, to be real. Like if we hadn't. I wonder if I can hit this gap. No, not even close. What do you think, Drew? What's your final 2 pennies?
You're spot on, dude. I mean, this really brought back some old like sleepover Domino's pizza, Chewy Chips Ahoy, and Surge 2 liters. Like this just it really like hit. That's why I don't want to play this game a lot. Like I want this to sort of live in a game time capsule of my life, where when I play this, I get those warm fuzzies, you know? And so, but it's fantastic. Like I highly recommend, dang dude.
Yeah.
I highly recommend if you're into skateboarding at all, you got to check this game out. If you're into games like this, whether it's like wave race or snowboarding or slaloms or whatever, like this, I think these games were the reason those were successful.
Yeah.
So absolutely, dude, this is a hit. This belongs on a list of must plays. But with that, it stays on the list. Love it. Let's any final words in closing? I feel like I've kind of closed us out a lot this series.
No, that's cool, man. I think if you guys like this style of content, you want to watch us play all these crazy games and new, old. There's a little bit of something for everybody, and I think you'll dig it. Hit the subscribe button. That way you can keep an eye on what we got going on. We really appreciate the support. Check out the list. It's in the description. There's other stuff in the description, how you can get involved more heavily with what we got going on. And I think with all that being said, from all of us here at Nerd Leading the Nerd, come back soon.
'Cause we'll be waiting. Boy, Seth, we sure had fun today, didn't we? So long, folks. Come on, Seth, say goodbye.
Where are we going?
The show's over. See you next time.
Next time? When is that?
Pretty soon. Don't worry.
Pretty soon? But how long is that?
In a little while, man.
But what am I going to do till then?
You can hit the subscribe button so you can stick around for more content, or feel free to watch some of our past stuff.
Don't forget to come back soon.
Because we'll be waiting here on
Nerd Leading the Nerd. What? Nerd Leading the Nerd.